Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Whitepod. My name is Harshit, and I'm the Director of Business Alliances at White Labs. We are a digital agency specializing in SaaS and e-commerce SEO. I've got Dorothea with me today. She's a marketer with over 15 plus years of experience and Chief Marketing Officer at Mouseflow, which is a brilliant digital experience analytics platform. In fact, her work is so impressive that Taylor Swift ended up composing a song dedicated to her name. I'm happy to have you with me.
Thank you. I'm nice to be here.
Have you heard that Taylor Swift song Dorothea?
Yeah. I saw it when I think my sister sent it to it when she's see, even Taylor dedicating a song to you.
I'm not a Swiftie. I think that's the term, right? Taylor Swift's fan, but yeah. All right. Let's start with your journey in the field of marketing and communication. Please share about that and how you ended up becoming CMO of Mouseflow.
Hmm? Well, it actually started a little bit odd way in marketing. I originally wanted to be an accountant, so I have a degree in math and economics. But for some reason, I think that destiny wanted me to move forward towards the marketing area, because even though I worked, one of my first student jobs were at a bank, I somehow ended up in the marketing department in the bank. So it kind of kept being that. And so I had to realize, destiny, apparently my career path wanted me to take another way. So kind of started to follow that path, and basically super happy that I did that. I really love and enjoy my field. So yeah, that I would say, or else it's a very classical path that I had towards where I am today.
Yeah.
Started out my first company. I've mostly been in IT in SaaS industry. So been a couple of years at Sideco. We got my first, you could say, real job after my master degree, where I basically were both in the national, you can say, field marketing. For my instance, it would be the Nordic, and but also worked a lot with the international market. So gave me a lot of things here, and I think the rest kind of is a history. It's very classical, from marketing coordinator to campaign manager to senior, then to some head of, and then director now as a CMO. So I would say that in that sense, it's pretty classical.
That's amazing. All right, let's talk about Mouseflow now. I would love to understand its mission and how exactly, Mouseflow differentiate itself in this competitive space. What are the core USPs of the platform?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can say, I mean, largely we want to be market leaders within and solve our customers' pain points when it comes to understanding the behavior of the website and optimize the website and the conversion, especially on the website. We want to make analytics simple and easy for them to understand. So it needs to not, be compromised with too much complexity, even though it is complex behind the scene, of course. And then, get real-time data for them. So you could say that one thing that differentiates us a lot compared to other web behavior analytics tools, and a web behavior analytics to go in and record basically the flow that a user, how they interact within your website.
Yes.
So within that, you can say recording, you can analyze in different ways. And one of our strong differentiators is that we have a pretty advanced filtering option. So you can really deep dive. Let's just say that you should have 100 records from your website, and you need to figure out, okay, what do I actually need to look at? I might not have time to look at 100 different records, right? But maybe I want to focus on the US market specifically, then you can filter that way from it, and so on, so on. So we also have a strong friction score that kind of really shows you where people are, for example, having click rage. So if they're, classicals, a button doesn't work or something like that, and they click, 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 and nothing happens, it appears you can easily solve some of those frustration that a user might have on your website. We also have really strong integration capabilities. Me, myself, as a marketing, I know the disadvantage of working in too many different platforms. So the better integrated the different platforms are, the happier I am also. So we always have very strong integration capabilities. Yeah. So, and then one of the strong also from our side, and especially in the world that we live today in, is that we have a strong privacy compliance. So ensuring that the data that you have within your customers, or you you can say users on your website is secured and protected. We all know that data is super important in today.
Yeah. Especially for the enterprise clients. I mean, they are extremely picky when it comes to these things. Small might not. Yeah. All right. Now, Mouseflow offers, some brilliant, unique insights into user behavior. Can you explain me, like, what's the technology that uncovers the why behind the user actions?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can say, for example, if a good example would be if you take an iceberg, a classic web analytic tool, like for example Google Analytics, which is a fantastic tool also, but it would just show you the top of the iceberg, the tip of it, the what you can see that is above the water. It's where the web behavior, just to differentiate what it is different here with a web behavior analytics tool, that gives you also the insight of what's underneath the water, what you maybe not able to see from the beginning. It could be, for example, that, Google Analytics would show you, X amount of user sessions. But a web behavior analytic tools will show you exactly how that user navigates through your site, which button they clicked on or scrolled, or, you could way better understand the interaction and behavior that is going on your website and not just the number of user sessions.
Gotcha.
Example.
All right. Now, I would love to understand what are the other, brilliant features that a platform offers that your clientele loves.
Yeah, I think that, within all behavior analytics tools, you would have session replay, that is the recordings that are taking on your website. And then heat maps, definitely some of our most popular feature. But I would say that another feature that we have is, for example, the friction score that I mentioned before, that really helps our customer to fast localize the pain points or the challenges that the user might have with their websites. So as I mentioned before, like click rage, for example, or error rage, or error button, or I think it's called, that happens on website. That's also a very, very popular feature.
Okay. So, Dodja, what do you feel like? What are the common misconceptions among marketers, right? When it comes to like the landing page design and all, and the optimization part, like what marketers believe that this is a good practice, but your analytics, basically show otherwise. Like, for example, I was talking to one of the marketers and he mentioned that, having the CTA on the very top, right, on the hero section, doesn't really add much value, right? Because people want to know a bit more before, they want to click on a CTA, like, especially for, when we talk about the SaaS industry, like having purchase now and stuff like that on the very top section doesn't make sense, right? Because people won't be able to comprehend that much. And there's high chances after clicking the buy button, they might bounce off, stuff like that. So, do you have stumbled across any such, myths, I would say, that people believe that is like marketers believe that is true, but isn't like the real case scenario?
Yeah, it's a good example that he says, I'm not enough an expert to know if he's right or wrong. It's not a good idea or good. I think it's a case by case depending on what you sell. But it's definitely a way that if you put a CTA button on your website and kind of expecting like people will have to see this, they will definitely see this because I put it there and in my head, we all like that. Of course, they will see it. And then you can afterwards look at the recordings that you have in session replay and then maybe see that people keep passing it or scrolling down and they don't go up again or something like that. Then it will also, if it is on the top, you will, if you see that behavior that people have a tendency, I don't know, to scroll 40, 50% down, 60% down on your website and never really scroll up again. They will not. So maybe you should have it both, in the top, I think, typical best practice, depending on how long your pages would be, top, middle, and bottom kind of situation. So that definitely helps you identify the placement. So you can use web behavior analytics also, not just from a content perspective, understanding the conversion that are coming in, but also to basically optimize the whole user interface, the user experience that you have on your website. So that, and you could also see, especially the scrolling. We all know that, you have long pages suddenly, but in reality, how many people are actually scrolling all the way down? So that's also kind of a old. If you build your website with the typical, modules with different, text or messages,
Yeah.
and you see maybe at some area people have a tendency either to drop out or scroll up again, maybe that message is less relevant for people. But then you figure out, hey, some of the messages that came after this one actually was something I wanted to highlight, but they don't see it because it never go that down. Maybe should I position it up, and so on. We had actually an example and with a customer that had a front page, homepage, and from the very beginning there was something about, legal aspect where, not that, there was just a legal aspect that they could apply for this and this. And honestly, it wasn't very inspiring. It didn't really tell that much about the product. Most people that comes into the homepage want to understand what this product can do for me. And then the legal is important part of it, but maybe a secondary step. And they could see that people blocked after that legal part, and they didn't keep scrolling somewhere. Then they claim, the customer reviews, the customer examples, the use cases example. So with that scrolling process and seeing that behavior and seeing that the average didn't come further down the list, they moved around the different things and put legal in the bottom. It was an important thing to have, but not, what people are looking for maybe in the first view they're looking at when it comes to a homepage. And that we could see suddenly that the scrolling events that where they already stop around 30%, suddenly they scroll down to 60%, which is a pretty high scrolling compared to the average. So it's things like that. What is your actually user interested to read about?
No, it makes perfect sense. All right. How do you approach, building and maintaining the branding aspect within your company? Like, what are the key activities that you know, basically leverage when it comes to the branding?
Well, when it comes to branding in general, we want to ensure that we have ongoing playfulness in our brand. Of course, also a comprehensive brand. So what we like from a brand perspective, our Mouseflow brand in that sense, is to keep a little bit trying to touch people within either you could be, say, everyday aspect, everyday issues, and make it with a little twist of playfulness. We just had a brand campaign running where we basically told what your boss asks you to do, with a little bit of a smile. And it could be, and with an example, like, the boss comes into you and say, give me those numbers fast for how is our landing page going for this campaign. Gotta know now. And we all know that, with a smile in your face, hopefully most bosses don't just come barking in and say they want this, but it is something that you need to fastly also be able to explain and tell, and basically in general, hopefully you follow that in your work in a daily basis also, but making it playfulness, and in our case, of course, luckily you got Mouseflow, you can fix it really quickly to understand the behavior and analytics around your landing pages, for example. But we do love to play around with these things. And we also had a brand like how to explain what behavior analytics for 6-year-old, like making it funny. So it's not just, you could also just explain it just by saying what is behavior analytics, but taking it down to another level so you kind of find it funny also. So that's super important for us to keep that. And I also think that it makes it more human and more understandable.
Makes sense. Right. Now, Dodgy, because, for an organization success, marketing and sales has to go hand in hand for sure, right? What processes do you have in place so that, you're continuously collecting the feedback from the sales and implementing those, things onto your marketing initiative? How do you take those things forward?
I mean, I've been working for the last 15 years with sales, and the key is communication. The key is communication. So me and my sales director, we are very close and talk about a lot of things and ensure that we communicate and share. That is so because if him and I am not in the same path, then we'll work, I wouldn't say against each other, but not effectively enough with each other. So we have set up some different things. So for example, logically, the target markets that we have in the company, ensuring that we focus on the same areas. So for example, from marketing perspective, when we run ads, let's just say like that, our targeting group is the targeting group that sales uses maybe afterwards if they need to do some outreach or want to or from a campaign level that they are also doing and so on. So that is a process that we have, and then we have bi-weekly meetings with the sales, everything from very practical, like, okay, what are the new customers coming in, any customer cases that could be interesting here, what are the new which leads, and just sharing stories. Sales rep could say, hey, so we could see, I interacted with this person through LinkedIn, for example, and we can see in marketing from our data that this person saw our ad at least, 6-7 times over the last 5 weeks. And then, okay, that lead is starting to be more warmed up, then sales take contact to that person. So that process is super important as that we focus the same area, and the leads that we focus on are also the same. So basically, a good strategy that we so far had is that we are warming up in marketing very specifically. So it's more about ABM, but not one-to-one, but one-to-many, you can say in that sense. So we're warming up a group, a list, a market maybe. And then after a month or two, we're passing it over to sales. Say it's your turn, and make sure that, the ads that they saw has something to do with what sales also reach out about. But it is a process. It's not a quick fix that takes a week to do.
And what specific, organic strategies or paid strategies are really working, in your favor?
So you could say that that is, I mean, it's two super important strategies, right? So both it's to some level different ones, because I would say that both strategies, you really need to understand what's the goal with this, and also where is your user at that point in the percaster journey. So it's a very classical, you can say, for me, paid strategy is, there's two different ways where you could say paid strategy. One thing is paid search. So the person would search over it. They know maybe the word weight behavior analytics. They might know Mouseflow. They might know heat map as a word. They might know session replay as a word. So they're already in some kind of earlier stage of the buying process. So you need to kind of ensure that the ads that pop up is also at that stage. That's kind of one strategy. That is super important. And also super important, also depending on, is it a market where we're known? Is it a market where we're not that known? All these would kind of ads do we need to show here. Then you have, paid advertising, which is way more push advertising, as I call it. They haven't searched for us yet necessarily. We are pushing an ad in their place. They might do, depending on how you target it, either you might target a group within an industry that you find is in a persona that you find is important. You could also maybe have, a targeted group where it's remarketing, or they've searched for some kind of keywords and you're focusing on that, then they're not a buying stage. So that's super. And the same goes with organic in some ways. The content that you write, you need to have it in different, you need to make sure, for example, that you have either help articles or blog articles or pillar pages within where the user is in the buying stage. Maybe they have never heard about web behavior analytics. Maybe they just, search for web analytics.
Yeah.
Want to optimize my website. And they actually didn't know that you could, record and see. Could be, and then you need to go a step back in the explanation, the blog, and the awareness stage, and so on. So I think that in this, what is the most important, or what do we mostly focus? We focus on all three parts of it, because I think that the mix is super important. But what we really focus on is that understanding when we add which strategy in, depending on the user journey
Right.
by company.
Makes perfect sense. And what about, after people get on board on your platform, like post purchase, what specific strategies do you have in place to keep the customer retention high?
Yeah, so it is something that is a big focus for us right now, and as everybody, it's a work in progress. In our companies, we're not there yet with all the things, and so we do have you can say, a project, a bigger strategy going on, and that's just not marketing. That's our product department, our customer success department, also that is specially engaged within this. It is, the ones that we have that are on a trial or free um, plan. How can we shift them over to a paying? And of course, it's a big, the conversion rate in that is a big focus for us. So I would say that we are starting to be a place where I feel that the signups that we actually get in are the ones that we also want to get in and want to focus on. So now we're on the, as you said, the retention stage, like how to ensure that either people don't churn or actually, go and we can upsell. We can see that they can see the powerfulness of our platform, our product, that they literally need to get into a paying plan to get all the insights, for example.
Yeah.
So it is a strategy, but everything there is as I call it, it's our triangle right now in the different departments. Because in marketing, you're focusing on delighting the classical inbound stage, making sure to keep them updated, educated, tutorials, and so on. But that strategy is also within when you are in our product, in our app itself. When does tutorial pop-ups come when you're using, so it's not disturbing but actually helpful? And when do you get emails, and when do you get maybe when is it hard coded in the product itself, when is it more campaign based in the app, and so on. So it is, for me, something that we are really focusing on. And one big thing that we have learned in the past is that it's important that it's the free department who work together on this one. Because if you don't do that, you end up in silos. And then everybody knows this stage is super important. But then marketing maybe is sitting and writing a lot of good, nurturing emails, to do. But they suddenly spamming people because, customer success also created something in their department product, but hey, let's put this pop up here, just an example. But then suddenly you are overwhelming the customer and it's getting overload of information. And then you know how it is. If you get too much spam overload, you just get a stop, please stop butting me. Yeah, get out and let me figure this out in my own pace. And also because we're different in that part, right? Some like to see videos, some like to listen to a podcast, some prefer to just read a help article, some want to see screenshot. So that's also a focus that we have a lot, that giving that option or giving multiple options to be more educated, because again, we are different in that sense. But that is constant production also, and it takes a long time to create. So it's still work in progress. But that's my biggest learnings in these things. It's you can't do it by yourself as a marketeer.
Yeah. Hi. Now, what are the new trends do you see basically, shaping the future of website analytics, user behavior tracking?
The new trends, I would say, is definitely some things we see is the whole machine learning AI within this. I mean, I think that all of us, we are in a market world that is huge today. I think that when I started my career in the SaaS industry, I mean, I think that there was this, classical the market, how many organization it was, and I think there was like, I don't know,
Limited.
150 or something like that. And now we are I mean, you can't even see anything. It's just small, colorful dots in that one page view. I think many of us know that one I'm kind of referring to, and there's a thousand. So the competitor world is huge. And I think that making sure that, as I mentioned earlier, the integration with your platform work with others. But I also think that in the daily life that we have today is that we don't have the time necessarily to analyze for hours and hours and research hours. We want to have the insights fast. I know that many out there say they have AI, they have machine learning, and I think that many of the platform we also have in some level. But I think that the biggest upcoming, I wouldn't call it trend, but need in the market will be to get the insights even faster in a clear dashboards. And I think that all tech companies are struggling with it because it's there, but it's also, how to make it super valuable and insightful. So it's also actually real that you can use it in your everyday life. We know that, both I think Google Ads and Google Analytics have these insight tools. It gives you but still to a certain limit. So that's something that I foresee will be something that many companies will both struggle to implement in their platforms, but also is a key for us today.
I agree. Any specific new features, that you have, any upcoming feature that you are?
Yeah. I mean, we are launching Journeys in very soon here after the holidays. Journeys is basically giving you the user journey on your website. The cool thing about it is you can basically follow your visitors and understand where they come from. So let's just say that you have this page, a classical, it would be maybe I'm e-commerce and I'm selling fashion, and I want to figure out how many ends up on this page. Where do they come from and what's the next step? So you can basically say this page, I want to see, we have up to 10 step backs. Where do most of them come? And then you could see, okay, 30% comes from homepage to this page. Maybe some come from, a blog to this page and so on. And then you can also group it. So for example, if it was, again, e-commerce, you can say, I want to group all the shoe pages for women. Where do they in general come from? So you start to see that path both from before, but also where do they go after? And especially for e-commerce, at the after set, how many of them then click on, ends up on the checkout or the cart, it would say the first one, and then maybe checkout and how many drops. So you get and you get it real time within seconds. I mean, literally in 1 second, you get that view. So you really fast understand where your user comes from. And whereas many tools today, you still had to do it a little bit manually, figure out where they were coming from and so on. It also helps you a lot from a SEO perspective, because you would understand suddenly that maybe a blog that you thought of, a pillar page, where do they go from the pillage page? Many would just say, okay, either bounce rate or number of views. But here you can actually say, okay, if they didn't check out here, where did they then go? And then you maybe can say, okay, this blog was actually giving a lot to, the next step was pricing they went to, or product they went to, or so forth. So that is coming up here after the summer break in August, September to be launched. So it will be a super important key feature for us.
Yeah, I'm sure. Definitely. The mapping the journey of the customer does help you, multiple use cases for sure. So, all right, now, what advice would you give to businesses, looking to basically enhance their, efforts when it comes to demand gen, basically using the behavior analytics?
I mean, I think I have couple advices how you can use your SEO efforts. I mean, how you can basically enhance your SEO efforts the best using such a tool as Mouseflow. It is, and we kind of a little bit already navigated here and there around it over the last 30 minutes. But if I need to kind of summarize it a bit is that one thing could be to understand your user intent. So, for example, if you through heat maps and session recordings, you understand exactly how your users interact with your site, right? And then you can basically go in and better refine your content. Another would be to optimize your user experience to understand, did you put the right from a design point of view? Why it is also important for the SEO efforts is because, the rule, the more positive experience that your gets visiting your website, the happier search engines are, and the more, they're going to prioritize your content. So that's, it's not a direct necessary, but it will be an indirect thing for your SEO efforts too. And then, basically content optimization. I mean, you can identify the content that is performing the best. You can ensure you look at the metrics, like, for example, dwell time. So how long are they actually staying on your page? The scroll depth, where it is stopping. We talked about it earlier. And then also what new feature is coming up, where are they going on a next step from your content, especially when you build usually, a campaign within content, you do your SEO efforts to ensure that the main page they want to visit. But if everything stops here and you don't see the next steps, I mean, here you can also see, okay, was it because, in my campaign building in the drawing board, I have created this landing page. The next step will be this page and this page. And then you actually see that, 5% of your visitors only come to stage 2 in your campaign. So all the stage 3, 4, 5 compared that you did, nobody really visited. Then maybe you need to figure out what is going on and how you can keep basically that journey for the user continuing.
Yeah, makes sense. Right. Now, with over 15 years of experience in this industry, what are some of the most key lessons that you have learned, about effective marketing and communication?
I think it's a bit the classical try, test. Sometimes you fail and learn, do better next time. Sometimes you succeed and then you can keep optimizing and get some good wins. There is sometimes, I think that sounds wrong maybe to say, but don't overthink always everything. Test it out. Make sure you do it as a pilot, or make sure, of course, you don't test out and burn 70% of your budget. That makes sense, but test out. Use some of the budget for that testing when you do, and especially in my role as a CMO, when I prepare for my budget, I do ensure that this campaign also have, for example, the room for testing, to trying out and figuring out what's best, and then from there going in and optimizing or picking the best results or whatever you do. But that's definitely some of the big key lesson. Test. Don't be scared to test and try out, because I've been proven wrong many times. I do when I have I have a great marketing team and a super creative team also. And sometimes they have an idea where I'm kind of thinking, oh my God, are you crazy? I mean, this is too far out. But then, they have proven me wrong several times, where I've been too conservative maybe. And so always say, okay, let's try it, test it in a both a budget and a resource and timing that is, realistic and limited, and see if it works. And if it works, we'll continue. Sometimes it has failed, sometimes it's working.
That's brilliant. All right, now we're coming to an end, Dorothea. Let's have a quick rapid fire now. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
Okay. If you could give one piece of advice to yourself at the start of your career, what would it be?
Just, every experience is a given experience.
Okay. Nice. If you could only use one social media for the rest of your life, which would it be?
Oh, I'm a millennium, right? So I'm Instagram.
Right. What's the most bizarre marketing tactic you have ever seen work brilliantly?
That worked, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. Reaching out to 30, 40 influencers within a special field, and thinking that they would want to respond back to 3 or 4 questions when they had to put some time and efforts in here, and being positive that we got a response rate around 70%, but also realizing that these influencers love to talk about themselves. So that was actually a bit, so yeah, that didn't think it would work, but actually worked, and even better because it then continued to work, because as soon as you put it live, they kept sharing, and
Yeah.
so it went a little bit viral.
Like, established influencers do respond like, well, either directly or they have a team of people responding, and they are actually big. So
Mm.
at least in my experience, and especially in the SaaS niche, personally know a lot, so I know how proactive they are. So, but yeah, influencer marketing is actually brilliant for SaaS, although it comes with its own complications. But I have seen some of the companies doing, like, they really making it work well in the favor. So yeah. Okay, now what habit holds you back the most?
Sarah, can you repeat that one?
What habit holds you back the most?
Mm. Old habit holding me back the most. I would say that I'm getting better at letting go of old habits, but I would say to feel that sometimes need to have to respond back immediately, especially in the world that we live in today. You either have Teams, you have Slack, you have emails, you have LinkedIn messages. I mean, sometimes you can't just, we all have a to-do list, you can say, and things that you need to move forward. I mean, if I had to, with all the things that I get, it could be a full-time job just responding back. So that's an old, I used to have a, very still service-minded, I would say, but really had to need to be able to respond at least within the same day. And that's just not realistic.
And which channel do you prefer more, like spending more time and you're much more proactive on?
I would love to spend more time sometimes sitting with my team and together, all of us, and being creative together, because that's a thing in my team that we're really strong at. But unfortunately, I mean, we can't sit on each other's lap all the time. We need to move forward. So that's a thing that I would love to have more time to do. But the reality is also there's a lot of, from my level, strategic, forward thinking, coordination in that sense that is taking most of my time. And especially also, which is a huge important thing for me, employing and my employees, the engagement, the motivation, that they feel that they're heard. That's kind of my prioritization first one. Because if you have a strong relationship to your employees and understandable, and you're there as a leader, you also just have a stronger team.
Okay. What subject do you find to be most fascinating?
Yeah. What subject? If you had said what subject do I find most frustrating, I would have been able to answer very quickly. But fascinating, I would say that I think it's coming back to what area I would call it, maybe not subject, that I find most fascinating in marketing is that it has expanded to many different specialities, but I'm fascinated about that when we put these different specialities together, the outcome that comes out of it. There's so many parts today that you need to consider, for example, for creating a campaign. I find that super fascinating. I find it super fascinating to create that, for example, storytelling about both your brand, your product, but also engaging and making sure that your users see those aha moments that your product gives them. It's a difficult one, but it's also super fascinating one when you hit it the right way.
That makes sense. And what subject is most frustrating for you?
Yeah, then okay. Well, right now I would say by tracking, it's my most frustrating part when it comes to attribution. There's been a lot of changes in general in the market and in the world. So to say that there was a time where I could go in and Google Ads, for example, and figure it out. I'm happy that I have a head of growth that can do that for me too, because that is definitely a part, I think, for all marketeers that is more complicated and specialized and more technical than ever. So yeah, that is a bit of a frustration.
I know, yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate, you taking time out for this. And yeah, I mean, sharing such brilliant recommendations about the platform, everything. I'm sure listeners gonna appreciate it a lot as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.